First off, a few caveats before I take you through the build. Starfield, in unmodded Starfield, I should say, limits your ship size to 40 meters in length and width. So when you go over that 40 meters, it errors, saying the ship exceeds max length or width. So when trying to recreate the classic Vor'Cha cruiser from the Klingon fleet in Star Trek, we're a little limited, not only by the components that we have in Starfield, but also the physical limitations of length and width. So bear that in mind when I show you my attempt at recreating the Vor'Cha here in Starfield. Here it is. And I know what you're thinking. That's not very good, Spanj. No, I know. Okay, so yes, we are limited by 40 meters. At the moment, we are 38 meters on this build. And we are also limited by the availability of what components we have. As you know, this is not Imperial Galactic Survival or Avorion or even Space Engineers. So the ability to recreate ships to exacting measurements and, shaping, not really possible in Starfield. Nevertheless, we give it our best go. And this is my best go at a Vor'Cha Class cruiser from Star Trek. And the great thing about this is it's actually a pretty good functioning vessel in the vanilla game without mods. It's also a Class B, so it's even accessible fairly early on. All that considered, I think it's a reasonably good recreation of the Vor'Cha. Let me take you through some of the features here. So we've got the interesting thing with the Vor'Cha, as you can see from the pictures, is its bridge is kind of midship. And it's elevated off the mid hull. So we've gone ahead and we've gone with the Overseer 300 bridge here, which is the closest representation of the Vor'Cha's bridge. And it sits mid hull on the top there. As we work our way forward, you've also got the weapons array at the front, which is photon torpedoes and coaxial disruptor arrays. Now, we don't have those sort of weapons in Starfield, but using the Demos wing ports here, we've recreated that kind of look, and we've also found a way to hide the landing gears underneath, which are, a required function of the Starfield ship here. So all of that is pretty much as good as you're going to get it, I think. Now, as we work our way back, this is where we obviously start to have some problems. The Vor'Cha slopes back into its wings and then ultimately out to its nacelles. It also has an array on the top there, which is very angular and difficult to reproduce. So using a lot of the Stroud-Eklund components here, so we've got a lot of the Stroud-Eklund structure. We've managed to recreate some shaping here, and the structure on top to a degree as well. The wings themselves are probably the most difficult things. I went for the Stroud nose cap 2B here because, well, it's a large, flat-ish component, and anything else didn't quite look as good as this. Not that this looks particularly good, but it's as close as we're going to get there. As for the nacelles, then, we don't have nacelles in Starfield. We have honking great big chemical engines, so these are turned into sort of weapon arrays. So again, we're using a lot of Stroud components here with a bit of KO and components as well. But we've got extra landing gears here, frames, and a Nova weapon mount with our weapons tucked away inside there. So the nacelles are somewhat useful here as weapon mounts, I suppose. As we spin around to the back here, we've got ourselves some honking great engines, the AMD 11 engines, which are all B-type engines back here. So these give a good 14,000 thrust each. We've got a couple of White Dwarf 3000s. These are Class A, so pretty accessible. Another 15,000 thrust, and also a little bit of extra boost to maneuverability there. So between those 4 engines here, we've got a reasonable mobility of 77, but only a top speed of 140 due to its mass. From a module point of view, we've got quite a lot of hubs in here. We've got the armory at the front, workshop in the middle, control station mid, and then tucked away underneath there is the grav drive. Quite sure if we can actually see it, but the science lab is on top here. So we've got the somewhat useful abs, and then tucked away, like I said, we've got the grav drive at the back there and the core tucked underneath it there. We've also got a decent bit of storage. We got the the Stormax 60 cargo hold and the Gamma 1010 shielded cargo hold. Now this component, in fairness, you might need to have done some Crimson Fleet stuff in order to get this, so it's not accessible straight off. And I built this in my outpost so that I had access to the most components I could without having to go around to different star yards and ports and stuff like that. Now, there may be components out there that would be better fitting to try and reproduce the shape of the Vor'Cha from, you know, visiting individual ports and looking at the exclusive components that you can get in those ports. However, from what I can build of the outpost here, and this took me several hours to complete, this is as close as I could get it. Oh, and there's a captain's quarters underneath there, which is right at the front with a nice little viewport there. I think I've done a reasonably good job, like I say, of getting the Vor'Cha here and also making this a functional ship. Now, this is all, like I say, again, without mods. So with mods, you could probably make it longer, make the proportions more accurate, and get it a better looking Vor'Cha all around. Anyway, so that's the outside of the ship. Let's have a look inside, and then after that, I'm going to take it all apart and show you how to build it yourself. First of all, here it is, the Vor'Cha Class. I've called it because you can't have names that are very long, so it's just simply called Vor'Cha. However, from this angle, it looks a bit weird. But certainly from the top and everything else, it kind of looks like a Vor'Cha. Yeah, sort of. So I've used a lot of Stroud components, basically, throughout. But, yeah, here's the entrance in the sort of rear ship area. The front of the ship is not where the boarding ramp is. It's over here. So simply, let's go up and inside and have a look around. All right, so we come up in the back of the control station area, which has been shrunk down quite harshly by the docking pad, or the access to the bay. We've got a storeroom back here, so this is sort of near the back of the ship. Behind that wall there is the reactor core, and up here is the science lab itself. We've got the top docker here as well, and that's the view out the back of the ship there. Just about see some engine exhausts there, but yeah. We've got a nice little porthole back there.
Hey there.
But I do like the Stroud science labs. They just, or modules, I should say. They just seem a bit cleaner and nicer, and yeah. But back through the control station, then we come into the workshop where we've got nice portholes on the side. We can see there the wings of the ship, the nacelles. We've got all our workbenches and whatnot in here. Through then into the armory. And then down into the captain's quarters. And, yeah. This is nice. And that's the view out the front of the ship. And we can look up and we can see the little kind of weapon mounts there. I haven't got any weapons on them at the moment because I'm maxed out on the generator, the reactor. And the bridge is, like I say, midship. So we're back here in the workshop. And we go up into the bridge itself, which is, well, the Overseer 3000 or whatever it is. It's quite a cool bridge, it's the Hope Tech, but I do love the little seats off to the side. They almost look like gunner seats, don't they? But yeah, from an interior point of view, it's a really, really cool bridge. Exterior, yeah, not so much, maybe. But still, pretty good nonetheless. Let's give this thing a spin, shall we? There we go. There she is. I'm going to introduce the settled systems to the Klingons. Let's have a look, see what she looks like when she takes off. But landing gear's out on the wings as well, so well, the view is a bit restricted. Need to go further out. Fire those engines. There we go. Actually, even sounds like a Klingon ship. So the size and scale of it and stuff like that, the maneuverability isn't bad, considering the weight and stuff like that. Now, at the moment, I've got equipped on here 2 particle beams, 2 lasers, and 1 heavy missile launcher. So a fairly balanced array of weapons. Between the missiles and the particle beams, you're going to be taking out hull fairly quickly, so you might consider swapping out the lasers for EM weapons to disable components so you can do more boarding and stuff like that. Let's see if we can find something to blow up, shall we? Oh, good.
Remember me. I
Perfect.
That I'd hunt you down for some payback.
Yeah. Mathis is maybe a little bit bitter because I didn't like him. So I told Delgado that he was a prick. Anyway, this is a perfect example because now we're going to be in a bit of a battle here. So I've got max powered shields. Shield array is not the best shield array I could possibly have from the B class range. So this will be an interesting fight. Let's give it a go. I've put max power into shields. I've got a good amount of power into engines. I've dropped almost everything from lasers. I'm just going to use the particle beams. But let's just get this over and done with.
Leave nothing left but space dust.
Yeah, all right. Let's get a bit of space between us and them, shall we? Oh boy, that's not a lot of space at all. All right. There we go. You want to pick on a Vor'Cha, huh? Right, our shields are down though, so that's not good, is it? Right, 2 down. Let's get the last one dealt with here, and then we'll try and board the last one and capture it. There we go. Last one here. So we're going to target the engines. So you got to get shields down first. Don't know if we're going to be able to take the engines down without killing him. We'll use the lasers. Maybe getting behind him might be a good idea. What are you doing? Crazy little ship. We're trying to boost away. This is actually Mathis's ship as well. I don't want to destroy the hull, that's the problem. And so long as he's facing me, I can't really target his engines. Oh, that was the wrong button. Come on, kill those engines. Nah, I'm gonna kill the ship here. Which is a shame, because I wanted to board. He's gonna die. Never mind. Oh yeah. Alright, so how do we build this sucker then? Well, first of all, let's explode it. Well, there we go. It's a lot, isn't it? Quite overwhelming when you look at it like this. But don't panic. I'm going to try and take you through this one component at a time. And we're going to build it up from the front and back. Okay, starting with the central bit, and then we'll go out to the wings and stuff later on. So let's start here at the front. Now, the front is actually quite simple. It's basically 2 habitats, an armory and a captain's quarter. One sat on top of the other, simply like that. Now, all I've got there is a porthole at the front of the captain's quarters, and there's Hope Techno's B4 as part of the structure on the front of the armory. The missile launcher goes on a equipment plate, which is also part of structure, which you can put on top of the armory here. So this doesn't need to be a missile launcher, it could be whatever you want, basically. So, and the same goes for any of these habs. You don't necessarily need to have the exact same habs that I've got in the same order that I have. So, you know, you can mix and match whichever you fancy. Now, what I've got here are 2 landing gears. These are quite cool because they're very compact landing gears, but they are very close to the ground as well. So they, you know, they're somewhat good, and they can also be a bit of a pain. But these are the Pinpoint 3G landing gears. Now they just go on as far forward as you can get them on the lower level, like that. And then upper level, where the armory is here, I've got these Deimos Wing A's. And these are part of structure as well. And they form that kind of nice pointy weapons array looking type thing that the Vor'Cha has. Now, going back down again, hang on a second. 1 second, I've almost forgot about the Horizon weapon mounts. that I have on the inside of these Deimos wings. Now, while I don't have any weapons on them at the moment, that's not to say you can't put weapons on them. It's a nice fixed point that you could use to mount some missiles or whatever. Anyway, next to these pinpoint 3G landing gears, I've got more pinpoint 3G landing gears, but the mid variant, and they go straight behind those two front ones. And there we go. Already we've got 4 landing gears on this thing, and we've got more at the back as well, so it'll have more than enough lift to get it off the ground. Then to finish off this lower section here, I've got a Deimos belly aft structure, and this just brings the slopes the hull back up into what will become the main spine of the ship. So slap that on there, and that brings it back up. So that's the bottom front done. So the top front now, we've got these Deimos Wing D parts, and they just finish off this kind of nice shaping at the front here. Slap those in there. And if you're not sure how to get these things in, you can either hit G, and you'll get the full structural list here that you can go through and find the piece manually. But what I like to do is hover the mouse over the part you want to connect it to, and then hit G. And it basically only gives you the parts that can actually attach to that section. So we can see a Deimos Wing D there. You got 2 variants. Use the arrow keys to cycle between them, using that bit there. And yeah, it's as simple as that, basically. Now, next, so that's pretty much the top front done. So we're going to carry on with the spine now. The next one I had along was the workshop. Okay, so attached to the workshop, I have a porthole structure either side, which is just a window. And then on top, I've got the Warden SG-1000 shield. Not the best Class B shield there is, but it's one of the very few that can go on top of the ship, and is this kind of like nice little round shape here. The bridge then goes right in front of that, flaps on top of there. That's the Overseer 300 from Hope Tech. You need to have discovered Hope Tech in order for that to appear in your Outposts shipbuilder there. All right, so now it gets quite a lot easier, really, as we head back. I know it doesn't look like it, but bear with, because all we've got to do now is slap the control station on, and then the bay goes directly underneath that control station like that. And then on the back of the control station goes this companionway. Okay, and that allows you to access the science lab, which goes just sort of diagonally from the control station there. So you need this companionway, otherwise there's no way to get into the science lab here. Bring the docker onto there as well. That's just a standard Connect Pro docker on the top. And this nice Teo cowling, it's a rounded cowling, looks quite good just to shape that transition there. Like that, basically. It's quite nice. Right, so then we've got these Stroud nose cap Cs. And these Stroud nose cap Cs go quite far forward. They go about there on both sides. But they go sort of one notch forward to where the Teo cowling is, basically. Behind these, we have the Deimos Hull A, which are very useful structural parts which have connectors on all sides. So if you need to basically extend where you can connect things to, the Deimos Hull A's here are very useful, because these things will actually connect to that. Without these here, this wouldn't connect. So we're going to go up a bit now. So this top section around the science lab, and we got this Stroud Cap A, starboard and port, and they slap quite nicely onto the side there, and we're starting to form the top of the hull now. I have just left behind the little porthole that goes on the back of the science lab there, and I'm going to move that up. And there's a lot of stuff lying around here, as you can see, and don't worry, we're going to fit it all in just a second. Now, I got all my cargo. Well, I say all my cargo. Most of my cargo is down in the bottom here, right? So this all slaps on down underneath. We've got these Caravel shielded cargo holds. You may not have these unless you've done the Crimson Fleet line. You don't have to use shielded. They could be any cargo holds, whatever fits on the side of these right here. And you've got these as well, which can also fit on the side of the Hope for landing bay. I should have said that, sorry. The Hope for landing bay is really good because you can connect things to the side of it. The Deimos equivalent doesn't have any connections on the side of it. So you can actually load up the HopeTech one with cargo like this. Very, very useful. Next up, we've got the rear landing gears here, and we've got the Acculander 11 landing gear. And these actually slot nicely on the bottom of those Deimos hulls that we have. Again, increasing their usefulness even more. There we go. That allows us to then connect the last bit of cargo here, or I say not the last, but the next bit of cargo onto the inside of one of those landing gears, just like that, you see. We then have the reactor. My apologies. We then have the grav drive, and the reactor connects to the bottom of the grav drive. There we go. Got ahead of myself there. Grav drive, then reactor. Now, I've put a little bit of structure on the outside of the grav drive there, just to sort of give that a little finish. And a little bit more cargo. We've got these 100 cm ballast shielded cargo holds. Again, they don't need to be shielded. That slap on the other side of these landing gears. Like that. And now time for some engines. We got the White Dwarf 3000 engines that go right in the middle of that rear section there, and they connect to that Deimos hull A once again. These things, they just connect, they just hold everything together. And then on the top of the main section here, I've got the Galleon S202 cargo holds, which does require a point in Starship design. There are some nice structure points, nice structure Teo ones that can, you know, fill the place of that if you don't have these. 950 cargo holds. Huge cargo holds. Really, really nice. Does add a huge amount of weight to the ship, however. Right. So that's the main hull complete, basically. Now we're going to start going out to the wings. Now, I will say at this point, do feel free to swap any of these components out, ones that you feel that look better or do the job better. Like I say, this is the best combination that I found, not necessarily the best that you will find. Case in point, these cargo holds, you might not even have them unless you've put a point in Starship design. So you can use any of the better looking kind of cowled structure to essentially fill that void. Okay, the wings then. Now, I've used the Stroud nose caps here because, well, the closest things I can find to wings in Starfield. They really are. They're actually supposed to go on the front of a ship. So, who knows? But they, again, slap onto those nice Deimos A hull structures with all the points. That thing is literally holding this thing together, I swear. Oh, dear. The main engines are these big Dun 11 engines over here, okay? And they connect to the first point on those Stroud A caps there. I'm using control to select multiple components because what I've got, these engines actually have 2 points of connection. They have this upper one as well. This is a HopeTech pipes structure, and it just helps to sort of blend and shape those engines into the hull a little bit nicer. So we've got those there. On the underside of those engines, I've got a fuel tank that just slaps onto the wing there, and a Deimos belly 4 in front of it, so it doesn't just look like it's hanging out there with nothing. But that's an M20 Ulysses helium-3 tank. Then comes the nacelle parts. Well, first of all, I put a little HopeTech nose B aft on this slot here because this is just like a blank space there, and I thought that just might look a little bit nicer. I've got a Stroud cowling 1LB, which is kind of just like a square bit of filler, I suppose, on the end of this. And this transitions quite nicely into the Stroud Cap A. And on the back of that is the Teo cowling aft, a different manufacturer, but it ends quite nicely. It's not very long. If I put the Stroud Cap A and reversed it there, it didn't look quite right to me. Anyway, that completes that nacelle. Underneath that, we've got simply a bit of, what is that, spine? And then the Nova weapons thing slaps onto that. On the back of that, we got the landing gear underneath that as well. And that all just clicks together like quite nicely there. And there you go. You've got the nacelle squared away. Repurposed as a weapons mount, but I think it looks pretty good. And then we just do the same over the other side. And bingo. There it is, within 40 meters in both directions. My best attempt at a Klingon Vor'Cha cruiser in Starfield. And hopefully now you can build that for yourself if you feel like it. And like I said, if you can improve on that, I would love to see how you did it. So take a screenshot, share your screenshot by linking it in the comments down below, or better still, join my Discord, link in the description, head over to the Starfield channels and share your screenshots there. Join the discussion. I'd like to challenge you to build a better Vor'Cha than that. But yeah, up to you guys. Let me know what you think in the comments. I really appreciate your feedback. It's really difficult to try and share builds in Starfield other than just screenshots, so I hope this kind of little break it apart and put it back together again kind of format works, because until they get official mod support and Steam Workshop support and we can actually share builds, this is the only way I can share a build with you guys, I think. So either way, I appreciate your feedback down in the comments below, whether you like it or you don't. You know, I'd like to hear from you. In any case, I do hope you've enjoyed or found this even slightly informative. If you're new here as well, do consider hitting that subscribe button if you'd like to see more from me, and as always, I really appreciate a like if you liked the video. But that's going to be all for today. Like I said, hope you enjoyed. Thank you for watching, and hopefully I'll see you next time. Until then, take care. Bye bye.